A lot of comedians have very, very dark or interesting past to go over.
All right, so Tom Segura was just on Joe Rogan's podcast, and the comments did not disappoint. I mean, that's always the best part of Tom Segura's appearances, just reading the poor's comments. Because aside from that, of course the actual episodes are just really boring. Like, the only entertaining part from this one was when they roasted Bert Kreischer, which was pretty funny.
Have you ever seen the clip of Segura jumping? Oh, I have seen this, actually. This is brutal, yeah.
You okay? You okay?
Oh, he like broke his arm really badly there. If you didn't catch that. Yeah, he really he doesn't like the pores. I think one problem that a lot of comedians and I mean generally influencers in general run into, just people who become successful in any way and have a public facing presence is they start to kind of resent people who don't have money. Because a lot of the stuff you talk about when you're really successful is going to be like plane rides and sports cars and shit like that. If that's the life you're living, right? You're going to become a pretty unrelatable person. And so people start complaining about that because they're like, well, I don't relate to this. Like, I miss when Tom would talk about average people's experiences, right? Now the problem becomes all they can talk about is their rich people stuff. It's like a Jerry Seinfeld meme, right? Like, what's the deal with airline food? It's literally that. But
the rest of the episode was just kind of the usual. I think they spent probably 45 minutes to an hour talking about cars, really expensive cars, which was boring unless you're reading the comments at the same time. That actually made it hilarious.
Is that a 765?
I don't know what it is. I don't know anything about McLarens, but it's fucking
so
dope.
Rad. I've driven a lot of the lineup. I've driven the 600 LT.
How come you never got one?
I don't know. I should get one. I just drove the new 750S.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
But they're making cars that just a rich knucklehead can buy that has the most insane speed and power.
I've driven, like I said, a lot of the lineup. When I grew up.
Did you know Bert's dad was a lawyer for Scientology? Bert Kreischer? I did not know that. The Kreischer family's battle with the Church of Scientology.
L. Ron Hubbard hired my dad.
Really?
Yeah. My dad beat the Church of Scientology in court, and L. Ron Hubbard said, anyone who can beat us is good enough for me. Put him on retainer.
Yeah.
So my dad worked for the church for, we just called it the church.
The church.
That's what we called it.
Yeah.
Growing up.
If they're paying the bills, they're the church.
They are the church.
Yes.
So we bought a nice house in a new neighborhood, and then L. Ron stiffed us.
Didn't pay you?
Didn't pay us, and so we had a big house with no furniture.
I did not know that because I made a video about Bert and that never came up in my research. I didn't know that at all. That's really interesting. Sued them and then worked for them. Well, he didn't sue them. His client sued them. He was the lawyer, and then, they hired the lawyer because he was so good, basically. He's 100% lying. I mean, it's possible he's lying. Bert Kreischer is a pathological liar, but with something so specific like that, I feel like it's possible he's telling the truth, right? It's very possible. I think that Rogan, Rogan still has good episodes. A lot of people have shit on Rogan recently. His stand-up, definitely is not good. But when he has a good guest, it's generally pretty good, right? When he has a good guest, it's generally pretty entertaining. What was that fucking episode, dude? With Josh Brolin. Josh Brolin is, he's in The Goonies. He's in a bunch of shows, right? I enjoyed that quite a bit. And I saw the podcast with Josh Brolin, and it was pretty entertaining. It was pretty good. Just last night, I don't know if you guys know this, but YouTube Movies has free movies now that you can just watch free of charge. So last night I was just like on YouTube, and in my recommended I had W, the George Bush movie, and I watched it. It was pretty good. It was entertaining. It was kind of like it's a weird movie because it doesn't have as much of an arc as you would think, right? It's not really a movie with like such a crazy like first act, second act, third act. Like it doesn't feel like that. It feels more like a collection of scenes of George W. Bush throughout his life, but it was still pretty entertaining. It was an Oliver Stone movie. He also did the JFK movie, which I like quite a bit.
I remember talking to, at the time, he was with McLaren in F1, Daniel Ricciardo.
Look, you don't buy one of those unless you really want to get rich.
Yeah, and you also want everyone to know how fucking rich
you want
are.
everyone to know how rich, and you're rich right now enough. I don't have a $4 million car. I wouldn't drive that. I'd be freaked out. I can't drive. I can't park it anywhere. What am I going to do? That's crazy.
It's insane.
So that means he's got way more money than me. It's like, how much money you get? How much money you making? What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing that you're driving a $4 million car? If you're not interested in money, you get a Mercedes. You get a nice S-Class, and people get mad at you. You really want people to not get mad at you? Get a Lexus. Get an LS 500, cruise around in style.
Yeah.
No one's going to get mad at you.
So the funniest part of this podcast was definitely just reading the comments. The pores are now much funnier than the comedians. And Tom actually addressed the pores recently because Bert brought up how he likes reading mean comments. when they're not his, obviously. Like he said, he follows an Instagram page that just posts negative comments, and he'll send them to Tom once in a while because Tom enjoys it too. You know, at least they can admit that mean comments are funny. But then Tom starts talking about his comment section and how it's still all just the pores complaining.
I've been sending you clips of my favorite accounts on the internet or on Instagram are hateful comment sections.
Oh my God.
The comment sections where if it was you, it would hurt so bad. Right. But when it's not you, it's hysterical.
I have so much disdain come at me from people with little to no means, and it's just like a constant fucking barrage of just like, I'm so poor, I can't relate to anything you say, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know what to tell you. I donate to charities, like something.
I donate to charities. I mean, the real thing here is like, there's nothing wrong with being rich and having money and talking about it. The real thing is like, obviously the average person is not going to want to listen to that, right? If before you were talking about, you know, average problems like the drive-through at Chick-fil-A being annoying, or the dollar store being annoying, or the Walgreens line being annoying, and now the thing you're talking about is like, the brake caliper on my Porsche got fucked up, guys, it's so annoying. Like, obviously people aren't really going to want to listen to that as much, you know? I think that generally the best position to be in if you're a guy that's coming into a lot of money really quick and you're a public figure is, if you're going to spend it and be a rich guy, either just don't talk about it, or if you're going to talk about it, you have to do it in like a comedic way where you're almost making fun of yourself, because the average person just doesn't want to hear you talk about how rich you are and how cool it is, right?
So it seems like the pores are getting him, but at least he could say he has one of the funniest comment sections. I mean, even Bert, it sounds like, gets a kick out of it. You know, he of course reads Tom's, but not his own.
We used to be good during the pandemic when Tom was fat, and then Tom lost weight and got disconnected from our fans.
Yeah.
It's just fucking...
Now he calls them the pores.
He calls them the pores. He does call them the pores.
I don't know.
And also, it sounds like Bert tries to give Tom some advice on it, which he's probably not the best one to be doing that. But last time they're on Rogan, he was telling him, like, maybe you should care a little more about it. But of course, Rogan, he doesn't really seem to help at all. You know, he kind of just tells him the opposite. And he's like, who cares what they have to say? They're a bunch of losers. You know, he has more of Tom's approach.
Tom, I don't know if you read
don't
the
give a
comments.
fuck about.
You do not give a fuck. You do not give a fuck.
You give the perfect amount of fucks.
Yeah.
I think it's like a balance.
No.
It's the right.
I think part of the problem here as well is like, if you're going to be the guy who doesn't give a fuck, you can't endlessly talk about how much you don't give a fuck. You can't every day just be saying, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. Like, that's not going to help you in any way. That's really not, you know? It's not going to fix your situation. It's not going to make it look like you don't care.
Right balance.
No, it's detrimental.
To what?
To him.
How so?
Why? If I read his comments, I'd be like, start giving a fuck.
Yeah, but who's writing those comments? You can't read comments.
I do.
The people that are writing them, you're getting a disproportionate amount of failures.
But it sounds like Tom is starting to care and is reading them, or maybe he just assumes they're still all just the same. But it seems like he's trying to find some way to move past it. You know, he's looking to make amends with the pores. We'll see if that ever happens. So also during the most recent episode, like I said in the beginning, they're making fun of Bert. And Joe actually brought up that picture that Bert posted of himself where he's breaking down crying after dropping his daughter off at school. And I said that people should be making fun of him for posting a picture like that. And Rogan seems to agree. And he said even Bert's daughters will make fun of him for crying too much.
It's just,
I've heard it's insane. Bert, what did Bert go to see there? The Dead?
He's seen a few there. He saw the.
Of course he has.
He saw, I gotta go. He saw the Dead, and he saw. He went to the U2 show when they were there too.
Oh wow.
He said, "Yeah." He's like, "I cried so much." You know. Of
course.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. Of
Emotional.
course. Yeah. I cried the whole time.
Your liver's failing.
My daughters were making fun of me. I'm like, yeah.
They should.
Yeah.
They should mock you. He doesn't just cry. He likes to take photos of him crying and then post it on Instagram. I'm so sad.
Why though? Like, why? When I'm like sad or crying, I never have a thought in my mind where I'm like, I need to post about this. Like, not everyone needs to know. Destiny blows you and Nick Fuentes' BWCs. That's true. Well, that's why it wasn't me in the video. You know, it wasn't me in the video. Realistically, if it had been me, it would have been a lot larger. And, you know, I do have a little bit of emotion over the fact that people are saying that it's me, because, you know, I'm much larger, and frankly, I would be crying if that was happening, because it would be so good, and I would enjoy it so much.
My daughter went to college. Look, is this one good? How many did he take before he picked that one?
He's a fucking mess when I saw him.
Of course.
So it's awesome that even Rogan's talking about how ridiculous he is, because some of Bert's other friends, like Whitney Cummings and Joe Coy and Patton Oswalt, they all went along with it and just acted like it was something normal. Like people always just post pictures of themselves breaking down crying on Instagram. So thankfully Joe had a more appropriate reaction to this. And then also he started asking Tom about how Bert's doing in terms of the drinking. And Tom said he's in the middle of a bender, which I think he's probably been in the middle of ever since they started Poor Osos. Because before that, I think he was sober for a little. Like, he definitely looked healthier. But now with Poor Osos, like starting an alcohol brand with him, obviously that's just going to cause Bert to go crazy with the drinking. And Tom even tells a story about them being at a Poor Osos event and Bert getting completely wasted.
How's he doing these days? He benders, he goes off, he goes on.
Yeah, he's cleaned
up for a little while and he went right back in.
He's on a Bert cycle. Yeah, he was real clean, and then my favorite, he was like, we were somewhere in Vegas, and somebody was like, do you want this? He's like, can't, I'm hardcore keto. And I was like, okay. And then we go to this. I'm like, okay.
The way you said, we twisted your head. That's such a hardcore keto.
Hardcore keto. And then we go to this bar, and we're pouring drinks, Poor Osos drinks, we're like,
It's just like there are good episodes of Rogan, but who wants to listen to an episode where it's just guys talking about drinking? Like guys talking about how they went out to a bar, guys talking about how they're unbothered by the random comments they get. Like, is this really going to benefit them in any way? I feel like it's not. Sad alcoholic bald men. I mean, they don't seem sad. If you want to be a big comedian, the focus should be comedy. Like there are a lot of YouTubers who I'm sure have a bunch of money. Like, I mean, take Jay Schlatt, for example, right? That guy has a ridiculous amount of money, I'm sure, from the various ventures he's had. And I remember I listened to some podcasts recently with him. By the way, I've been getting into Jay Schlatt content recently. I never watched it before. I never gave a fuck. I did not care whatsoever, but I've been getting into Jay Schlatt stuff recently. It's pretty good. I do enjoy it quite a bit. Back in the day when he was coming up, I didn't give a shit about what he was doing. I was like, oh, this is PG-13 YouTube. I don't care. But he's actually pretty funny. And I listened to some podcasts with him, and they were asking about the cars he has, and he was just like, yeah, I don't really want to get into it. And it was kind of clear to me he just doesn't want to do content where it's like the rich guy talk, where he talks about how much money he has and how many cars he has and how big his house is and how he spends his money. Like the average person in the audience doesn't want to hear about that. They just don't care whatsoever. It doesn't matter to them. They want to see you do the typical content. They want to see you be the funny guy. You like TikTok reactions? Well, the TikTok reactions are not really my thing, but I mean, some of them are funny. I feel like for what they are, they're fine. But I more prefer the gaming videos. I think the gaming videos are really funny. Yeah, bro, did you guys see this? Okay, I got this in my my recommended the other day, and I couldn't even believe this was the case. Bruh. I got this video. This wasn't the original thumbnail in my recommended, but I saw this and I was like, what the fuck? What is this? Why? He's doing an investigation on George Floyd, I guess. I was just like, all right, man. All right. Happy holidays, Tom. Not a big comedy guy as well, but I love the Danny Brown show. Him beefing with Cyrex is pretty funny. Yeah, Danny Brown seems cool. We just harmonize with our burps, so that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing, buddy. I've seen Tyler Oliveira recently. He's doing a lot of videos in that vein. He did one about England, which was like the country with no free speech, which is, I mean, somewhat true. They have less free speech, I think, than like the United States, but he's clearly going in that area. I also saw him on Twitter. He was like arguing with like Vince Vintage, I think, of all people, one of my buddies. It's kind of interesting.
Our brand, and it's like tons of people, and it's a very fun thing. Everyone's out and getting bottles and drinks, and we're signing things, and of course, like,
he's throwing them
back. And at one point, he's standing there shirtless, and he goes, I'm absolutely fucking shit-faced. I go, yeah, I can tell. And so I go, hey, some time passes. I go, you want to get out of here? He's like, yeah. I go, okay, we're going to go this way out of this place. And here's the exit. And he's like, okay. So I turn this way, say something, then I go, ready? He goes, I'm going to fucking stay. And I go, okay, I'll see you later, man. So I leave. I get the fuck out of there. And then I run into him later. I'm like, how was it? He was like, dude, I was so hammered. I go, yeah, I know. He goes, yeah, I got back and I ate a dozen donuts. And I was like, I go, what happened to hardcore keto? He goes, well, I just ate the tops. And I go, that's not how keto
That's
works.
even worse.
Yeah.
That's where the frosting is. You fucking, what are you talking about?
He's a lunatic.
Oh, my God. He's still alive. Mm-hmm. I wonder how long you can do that for.
I mean,
how long can you do that for?
My other favorite phrase, he's like, I quit drinking. I go, when? He goes, Wednesday. And I'm like, but it's fucking Friday. He's like, I know, but it's like 48 hours, nothing. I'm like, that's not.
That's a normal
That's
person.
not how that term works. And he's like, but so he'll get to a certain point here where he'll be like, I gotta clean it up, and he'll just like really clean it up, like won't drink for a
Oh, he cleans it up, bro. He cleans it up. He absolutely cleans it up, man. He won't drink for 10 hours.
A while, clean up the diet. You'll see him just like thin out.
He takes a picture on Instagram.
Takes a good picture.
Sucks his gut in.
Sexy picture.
This is me now.
Topayachu is homeless now and is beefing with a maid from the motel she and her fam were kicked out of. Pretty funny. Yeah, I'm actually working on a video about her for some point in the future. Right now, the big video I'm doing is on Mr. Girl, which is I've been editing it on my own recently. Chat, all right, let it be known I've decided that I want to edit videos again, meaning streaming a little less. So I've been editing videos. If you like the classic turkey time editing, we'll be coming back to an extent. Acetaminophen or naproxen sodium, who wins? Isn't acetaminophen just like Tylenol? Isn't that all that is? Is he still kicking around? Yeah, barely. Mr. Girl does exist. Tom Turkins is watching Tom Segway lol SNL moment. Dude, I did see fucking... Hold on, Twitter is a war zone right now, so I gotta be careful to check on replies here. But I saw this video. What the fuck is this?
Hey guys! Oh my goodness, Riley, what are you wearing? Who's Riley? I'm Turkey Tom.
What the fuck is this, Macaulay Culkin? I think that's him, right? Isn't that the guy from Home Alone? What is this? I'm Turkey Tom? I am suing these people, to be clear. I am taking SNL to court. There's no doubt. It's happening, okay? It is happening. Let it be known. Let it be known. He stole my whole fucking flow. Beat for beat, bar for bar. This piece of shit.
And then you'll be like, oh, you're
3 weeks
good.
later, huge.
Yeah, it's a cycle.
3 weeks later, I see him waddle through the fucking green room at the mothership. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? The fuck are you doing?
Put a girl on. True.
He goes hard, dude. He goes hard. I've been going hard with eating just super clean, man.
Yeah, and the contrast between Bert and Tom is so funny. You know, they're
eating super clean, man. This is like, bro, my dad. Oh, man. I got my dad into Joe Rogan a little while ago. Me and my little brother did. And he started watching it a lot. And then within a few months, my dad was like at the dinner table talking about how he wants to do the carnivore diet. And I was like, Dad, I know Rogan's entertaining, but I think you're going to die if you do the carnivore diet. I don't think you should do that. I think you got to get some vegetables in you, probably. I think you got to do it, bro. Come on. I don't think that's a good idea. Why'd you do that to your dad? Well, my dad used to like Howard Stern a lot. Like when I was growing up, he would have Howard Stern on because he had Sirius XM. So I would listen to that. By the way, credit to him to getting me into a lot of the music I was into. You know, my dad used to put on Lithium on Sirius XM. Would listen to some Stone Temple Pilots, some Alice in Chains. All right, I did enjoy that. But you know, then he stopped listening to Howard Stern because he was like, Howard Stern is cringe now, and I was like, all right, true, based. But then he got into Joe Rogan and like Patrick Bet David, and it's like, you know. Fair enough. I like some Rogan, but he's talking about the carnivore diet. I'm like, bro, what do you look for? An editor is going to try to make a portfolio when I got no topics, but know a lot with Blender and DaVinci Resolve. What do I look for? Someone who is really good and can listen to instruction and can edit exactly like my videos. No less. That will be what. But yeah, send an email to turkeytombusiness@yahoo.com. People who can exactly recreate my editing style. Do you think Destiny will be able to throw on the horse? I hope so. Watching you in the shower? Okay. Warhammer Army painting stream, Tom. Need it now? Listen, Warhammer seems cool, but there's such a world to get into there. I don't think I'm going to do that, to be honest, man.
They're talking about Bert's going hard with the drinking, and then Tom's like, yeah, and I'm going hard with the clean diet. So Bert and Tom are like the opposite when it comes to their health and drinking. And Tom's talked about how much he hates being around drunk people, especially drunk Bert Kreischer. So he must hate doing those Porosos events. Like Bert also in the past has offered him to do the Fully Loaded tour a bunch of times, and Tom's always turned it down because it sounds like it's just torture to him.
Have you guys ever been around drunk people when you're not drunk? It's like absolutely insufferable. Like you can't even do it. You can't even do it. Like one time I went out to the bars with my buddies and I just didn't drink. And I quickly realized, I was like, wait, I actually don't want to be here if I'm not drunk at all. There's just a bunch of loud people yelling at each other about nothing. There's a Major Klug long form video by Parody. You should watch it. Also, please search Major Klug Wizard Ale if possible. Dude, the problem with watching Parlo is his videos seem good, but his voice is just so like, it's just too much. Like I just can't sit through it. Like he's like yelling at all times. He's literally like screaming.
Don't know, has been a long-standing member of the Roblox community for many years now at this point, and has garnered him.
I just can't get through it. It's unlistenable for me. I can't stand British people.
So starting a vodka brand with Bert was a bold move for him, but he obviously should have known what he was getting himself into. So also during this podcast, they talked about doing another Sober October, because they didn't do one last year, but I think Joe's probably worried about Bert again. So it sounds like he wants to try to do it.
Do you think we can get Bert to go sober for a month again? Because last year he was excited to not do it.
I don't want to speak for him, but no.
Maybe he could use it though, right?
I don't know.
Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for him.
No, it's never the worst thing for any of us to take a month off. It's what kind of challenge is it for each person, you know?
Well, it's easy for me, but for Bert, it's a big ass deal.
Yeah, it tests his
Will
for sure, and
will to live.
Cleans him up. I think
Those men need to be sober forever. I mean, I think generally speaking, the closer you are to sober, the better you are. You know, if you want to, drink now and then, I get it. I drink now and then. Okay, I'm not going to deny it. But I feel like generally speaking, the closer to not drinking you are, the better you'll be in general. I think that's just my general thoughts on the topic. I'm better drunk. Yeah, I mean, maybe at driving, but apart from that, I think that generally speaking, if you're not in an automobile, there's just no reason to drink.
I think he also kind of gets off on the challenge of it because so many people are like, you're gonna struggle this, like, online, and
it sounds like Tom doesn't really care that much about it. Like, he doesn't really care enough to try to convince Bert, so it'd probably just all be up to Joe. And I think him making fun of Bert might be part of his strategy, and because hearing Joe, a friend of his who has one of the biggest platforms in the world, publicly call him out on his podcast has got to be tough for Bert to hear. And like Tom was saying at the end there, he needs a challenge. If people are making fun of him and saying he can't do it, then it's going to motivate him a little bit. So then Joe saying that, it should motivate him even more, but I guess we'll see. And also during this podcast, Joe and Tom are laughing at how delusional Bert is.
I think that...
well, Bert's another one that has that delusion.
This is the thing. All of them know that Bert Kreischer is delusional as well. Like, they all kind of hate him. They get why the audience thinks he's such a fucking fat idiot. They all understand. They recognize all the problems that the commenters also recognize. Painting my army right now, Tom, you could be me right now. Dude, my autistic fixation was Legos. I think that Legos are awesome in base. Apart from that, I really don't care, about any other autistic interest. It's just not really my thing. But I haven't bought any in quite a while. Like, I have a bunch of Legos in my house that are just sitting on the floor in these bins since I moved in. The entire second floor of my house is just empty rooms I have yet to organize. So at some point I have to do it. But yeah. Thank you, Hola Seal, for becoming a member. Painting my army right now, Tom. Just don't paint your army. Build your army, all right? Build your army, Jalen. I'm making a horror survival game like DBD and F13. Any character ideas, like abilities and weaknesses? I need a healer. Also, favorite cigarette? I have no idea anything about game design. My favorite cigarette is Camel Crush.
Delusional. I can't lose.
He is. I remember, what was the one that I was like, what are you doing? When he was like, I could do the splits. I was like, no, you can't. I think I can. I was like, you're going to fucking tear your hamstrings.
When he told me he could, I really believed for a second he could. I was like, really? Wow.
I know, because it also is one of those things that Bert could seek. Like, what I mean? It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities. Right. Like, oh, you have this secret.
What do you mean out of the realm of possibility? Look at him, dude. I can't do the splits. Okay, and I'm not the most limber, lean guy in the world, but you're telling me this guy, Bert Kreischer, can do the fucking splits? This guy?
I got my skateboard taken from me by a bartender because she was like,
"You're telling me this
too
dude
drunk to fuck
can do a split? How could you ever believe that? He's like 500 pounds." Yes, Zena, I have seen the tape. Thank you.
Secret skill, you can also do this?
Right, like when he played tennis. And you found out he could serve like a fucking pro.
Jesus. I know. He has all these like weird, like hidden skills. You know? Yeah.
I really believe that he could do the splits.
Yeah.
But he couldn't even come close. It wasn't even in the neighborhood where you did a split once in your life and you got to get it back. Like maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe you did it when you were in high school and you can kind of get back there.
Yeah.
And Joe's much better at bringing Bert back down to reality than Tom is. I mean, Tom usually just kind of goes along with whatever Bert's saying. He never really calls him out too much. But Joe, of course, doesn't really have the patience for it. And for the past couple of years, whenever Bert's on his podcast and he says something delusional, Joe will call him out on it. But that's about it for this video. If you want to...
Man, I think long-term Tom Segura will probably be fine. He still has a dedicated audience that watches him. He's probably funny in stand-up if he's getting that many views and much money doing it. He must be somewhat funny, or at least people think he's funny. But I don't know. I think stand-up is not really for me, to be honest with you. It's probably just not my thing.